We're on Daf Pei Gimel Amid Beis, and we started yesterday Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yossi, which is in the wide lines, about 7 lines down from the beginning of the wide lines, and they were on the road, if you remember, and Rabbi Yehuda Nebuch got bulmus, and he started chopping some food, lechem, from a roa. And Rabbi Yossi says, you're causing a loss to the roa. Then when they got to the city, unfortunately, Rabbi Yossi himself contracted bulmus, and the people of the city made a collection. They went all around, and they contributed blogay and sa'e, different kinds of kadim, that were full of dvash, meaning mesukah, and carols with all sorts of food. So Rabbi Yehuda turns to Rabbi Yossi, and he says to him, I was mafsid one roa, but you were mafsid the entire city, because everybody came out to you to greet you with food. So in a sense, you caused a greater loss. Again, even though Rabbi Yehuda took it against the will of the Roa, we're here, the Bnei Ha'ir, on their own initiative, they brought Minei Mesika to Rabbi Yossi. But nevertheless, Rabbi Yossi held that the klal of Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mevi Takol Tzadikim should operate and apply here, even in a minhag chasidus. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda was of the opinion that this klal only applies in a case of Isur. And here there was no Isur because he was in deathly need of food. So now we're up to this Su. And the Gemara gives now another testimony about another Maaseh. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Abikasli, Bi'urcha, they were on the road. Rabbi Meir, Avidayik, Bishma, and Rabbi Meir used to always interpret the names of people. Let's say, for example, he stayed in an inn. He would ask the innkeeper what his name was, and he would try to figure out if it was the right name, the wrong name. Nahu Mechuar. Mine's Reb Chaim Kanevsky today, if you know what I mean. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Lohavi Daika Bishma. They weren't careful about names, didn't interest them. Anyway, when they got to a place, it doesn't tell you where it was, Boish Pisa, they looked for an inn to stay in, the Yavula, and they showed them to a certain place where they would stay. Amrulo, so the Balabayis was interrogated by Rabbi Meir apparently. Ma shimcha, what's your name? Amalahu, the Balbais responds, Kidar Shmi. Amar, so Rabbi Meir said apparently to himself, Shmamina Adam Roshahu. If I darshan his name, I conclude that he is an evildoer. Why? Shenemar, it says at the end of Dvarim, Idar tapuchos hema, bonim lo emun bam. So if you take the first 2 words in that pasuk, he dar, and here Moshe Rabbeinu is castigating the Jewish people because they didn't believe in God, they didn't rely on God. It's a dar hafuchos. But if you take those first 2 words, ki and dar, and you put them together, and you connect them with a little line, with like a half a circle, and you ignore the space between them, then you get the word kidar. And when it comes to kidar, it's tapuchos hema, which means they go against my will, says God. They anger me. And we would not trust them. So the name Kedar, meaning Kedar, is a reference to evildoers. The Gemara tells us that this was on Erev Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Ashlimule Kisayu. They didn't want to hold on to their wallets in their rooms. They wanted to give it to a secure place. So sure enough, they gave it to the innkeeper. Rabbi Meir, Lo Ashlimule Kisay. He would not deposit his wallet in the hands of Kedar because he understood that Kedar was the last guy in the world that you wanted to trust. Today you go to an inn and they give you a safe, but they didn't offer you a safe where you could add your own secret code number. Now again, if it wasn't Erev Shabbos and all the tension of last-minute preparation for Shabbos, it could be that Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi would have also accepted the suspicion, so to speak, of Rabbi Meir. But on an Erev Shabbos, no, it's really precious. So they didn't know what to do with their money bag, so they left it in the hands of Kedar. Rabbi Meir goes to the kever of the father of Kedar. Exactly how he knew, where Kedar's father was buried, I have no clue. In any event, Rabbi Meir apparently felt that a cemetery is a safe, secure place to hide a money bag. Nobody goes into a cemetery, certainly not on Shabbos. Anyway, what happens at night is Chazile Bechelme, the father of Kedar, shows up in a dream to Kedar, his son. And he says to him, Ta shakel kisa de manach haresha dahu gavra. He speaks about himself in third person. He says, come and take the money bag that's munach under the head of that person, meaning of myself. Lemachar, on Shabbos, Kedar comes to Rabbi Meir, Amalei, and he says to him, Hachi ischazili bechelmoi. This is what I saw in my dream. He tells him over the dream. Amalei, so Rabbi Meir says to Kedar, Chelma de shimshei lesbu mamash. A dream on Friday night is not to be taken seriously. Why is that so? Because when a person is in a state of menucha, meaning he's calm and he's relaxed, then he sees dreams. And those dreams are not real dreams. Now Rashi interprets that Rabbi Meir was trying to convince Kedar that he shouldn't go out there to the Beis HaKvaros and steal his money bag, relying on the dream where his father appeared to him. And that's a bit of a problem because Rabbi Meir thinks, and this is a Shita Rabbi Meir, I'm not sure exactly where, that maybe we'll see it here, that in general, Divrei Chalomos lo mailim v'lo morim. There's never you should never relate seriously to dreams. So why does Rashi say that this statement of Rabbi Meir was only litchoso, to throw him off? In any event, Azal Rabbi Meir v'natre kuli yoma. Rabbi Meir went and he protected his money bag the entire Shabbos because he was afraid that Kedar is not going to take his word. He's going to take the word of his father that appeared so clearly to him in a dream. And the Aisei Lamocha, in other words, immediately after Shabbos, he brings it back. Amru Lo, so Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi turn to Kedar, and they say to him, Havlon Kisan, give us back our money bags. We deposited in your Amalei, what are you talking about? You never gave me any money bags. Amalu Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir turns to Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi, and he says, I told you so. Amailo dayakti bishma. Why weren't you, like I was, careful about reading his name and interpreting his name, concluding that he's a Russia and you shouldn't trust him? Amrulei, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi said to Rabbi Meir, Amailo amart omrat lon mar. Why didn't you tell us, mar meaning talk to Rabbi Meir in third person, that this person is a Russian? Amrulei, so Rabbi Meir responds to the two Tanoim, Emer di Amri Anoch Hashoshan. If Zu gave me Amri, I only told you that I have a suspicion. I didn't tell you that we should consider this person a Russia in an absolute way, and you should be careful about your money bags. I just told you that I have a suspicion. My intuition tells me that he's not trustworthy because his name is Kedar. But I wouldn't say that I was absolutely convinced that he's a Russia, and therefore I have to tell you, well, don't give him the money bags. I was just sharing with you my general sense of be careful. Then what happens is, they invited this Kedar to drink wine. Chazu tlofche asfame. Tlofche are in Hebrew adashim. And sometimes when you don't eat properly, there are leftovers. And here they can see the leftovers on his mustache, sfamen. Ozul v'yave simone l'debese. They went to his wife at home, and they told her that your husband commanded you to give us our money bags, and I'll prove it to you. Because we saw him eating adoshim, we saw him eating these lentils. She trusted them that they were sent as shluchim with the okay of her husband, and she brings the money bags from wherever they were hidden, and they put them there, and she puts them. Now Kedar realizes what happens. And he murders his wife. So this story has a tragic ending. But again, maybe we shouldn't be so shocked because he is a Russian. Hainu Desanya, Gemara now quotes a brisa that mentions this whole story of Kedar. Mayim Rishonim, those waters that we use to wash our hands before we start eating a Suda, that's called Mayim Rishonim. Echilu Besar Chazir. If you're not careful about washing your hands, then you might end up eating treifa food. The Maisa of this inn is a Maisa in which a Jew was selling both basar shchuta, meaning kosher meat, and for the goyim he was selling them pork. And one time, a Jew came in. He did not wash his hands before the Suda. The guy thought that he was, I'm sorry, the innkeeper mistakenly thought that he was a guy. And therefore he fed him pork. So as a result of the fact that the Jew didn't wash before he ate, he ended up eating chaz and treif. The Brisa continues, Mayim achronim, which we wash our hands at the end of the Suda, Hargu es hanefesh. Meaning in the case of Kedar, he murdered his wife as a result of the fact that he didn't wash his hands, Mayim achronim. How is that so? Had he washed his hands with Mayim achronim at the end of his meal, he would have naturally wiped his mustache. Apparently, that's the way they did it back in the day. None of the Chachamim would have seen that he had, the leftovers of Adashir. And the whole story, the Chadgadi, would have happened. He wouldn't have murdered his wife. Now the Gemara tells us another story about Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. Lebasov havedaike b'shma. Eventually, even Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi learned the lesson of Rabbi Meir that it's important to be medaik in the name of a person. And they will determine something about the nature of the person. Ki matu lahu beisa d'shmei. They came to a house. And what was the name of the owner of the house? It was Bala. Okay. I never heard of anyone by the name of Bala. My sister-in-law is Bella, not Bala. Bala, lo ayu l'gabe. The two Tanoim decided not to go in. Amri, because they decided to interpret his name, and Shmamino Rashahu. No doubt that he's an evildoer. I can know it by his name. The Siv, a pasuk in Yechezkel, va'omar la bala ne'ufir. They spoke about a certain elderly woman that she had apparently dedicated her life to harlotry, some sort of sexual immorality. And it says lebala. So this woman in Yechezkel, who's a marshas, she's an evildoer. Her name is Bala. Kimo. And with regard to Sarah, Sarah declared, Achrei blosi haisel liedna. Lomar zekena b'niyufim. Now, how did the Tanoim, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, how did they know that the pasuk v'omar la bala ni'ufim, and the word bala means that she lived her life in a, dedicated to sexual immorality? And how did they know that from the word bala? Because bala means zikna, older age. Like Sarah says, Achrei blosi, now that I've reached my older age, I now have a menstrual cycle. So it means after I became a zkena, and if we go back to Labola Ninufim, it means zkena b'niyufim. Zkena means that even though she's older, she spent her whole life living immorality. The Mishnah says, Mishnah Shachol Kelev Shoter, he's in danger. We learned Chamisha Dvar Nemru B'Kelev Shoter. There are 5 different descriptions that you can use to describe a rabid dog. Piv Pasuach, Riro Notev, Oznav Sruchos, Znavo Munach, Al Yarchosav, Umahalach B'Tzidei Adroch V'Yeshomer Maf, Noveach V'Yein Kol. The Bryce is offering us identification marks. How do you identify a dog as a dangerous rabid dog? His mouth is open, his saliva drips down from his mouth, his ears are unusually large and they bend towards the bottom. His tail is lagging between his legs, and he walks on the side of the road. Others say when he lets out a shout, you can't hear what he's saying. So the Gemara tries to clarify this. Mimai Havi. How did this dog become a rabid dog? Was he born that way? Rav Omar, Noshim Kashfonio Mesafet Gospo. Shmuel Omar Ruach Rosh. How did this dog become a shota? Rav says that there were mechashvos, we'll call them sorceresses, anyway, they would show and demonstrate their kishuv, their sorcery in his presence, in the presence of the dog. I guess they would joke around with him and use him as an experimental dog for the purpose of their kishuv until finally the dog became a rabid dog. But Shmuel says that there's some sort of ruach ra that entered into his body. My beinayu, we could beinayu. Here we're looking on Beidali. Lemiktale bidover anizra. Is it recommended that we kill him by throwing something from a distance? According to Shmuel, who says it's a ruach rosh haralav, they should not kill him. What does that mean? They shouldn't kill him. They shouldn't kill him in the normal way that you would kill a rabid dog, but rather bidover anizra. They shouldn't come up to the dog and making contact with the dog, put the dog to death because there's a shade, a demon in the dog. You know, when you start touching the dog, the shade might just jump out at you and kill you. But rather kill it by shooting it from a distance, you know, throw a dagger at it or an arrow. According to Rav, he says there's no ruach ra in the animal. There's only kishuv. And if there's only kishuv, then you could kill the animal biyadayim. Tanya Kavosi to Shmuel, Shahargimo, so we put to death the rabid dog. Ain't Hargino sell the Dover and Nizrak. And we don't kill him, but, with our hands. It's not a hands-on killing. The Chayev Bey mistaken. Because if he takes his hands and touches this dog, he's putting his life into danger. The Nachisle Mayas. And the Brisa ends by warning us that if you get bitten by this rabid dog, then you might die. So the Gemara now clarifies what we learned in the Brisa, the Chayev Bey Mistaken. My takante, let's say he was not careful and he didn't live up to the demands of this Brisa of Shmuel. He actually came in contact with the dog. What could he do in order to stave off a danger in this b'diavad situation? Nitzlach ma'ane v'nirhit. He should strip his clothes, wash his body, and run. And the Gemara tells the story. Rav Huna braid Rav Yeshua Chafbe. He actually came into physical contact with this rabid dog. one of these rabid dogs in the market. He stripped his garments and he began running. Omar. And he declared about himself, based on a pasuk called Koheles, Kiyamti bi'atzmi hachachma techayeh b'olem. That wisdom will save a person. I was only able to save myself because of my wisdom, my knowledge. Gemara says the following. The Nachesle, I say, if the Kelev could kill him through his biting him, my takante, what can he do if he is in a situation where he's going to die because he was bitten by this wild dog? Amar Abaye, Nese mashpa di apa dichu. He should take a parchment, and that parchment was a hide that was removed from a male, I believe it's a hyena. Do me a favor, if you can. Take a look here if he translates it as a hyena. Anyway, he's writing on this hide, on this parchment. Ano planya bar planisa, I so-and-so, the son of so-and-so, and he mentions his mother's name, Planisa. Amashcha di ape dichra sivnalach. I'm writing a lachash, which is an incantation on this piece of R. Pole, P-O-L-E. Not sure what a polecat is, but it might be similar to a hyena. I don't know. But the Hebrew translation calls it a tzavua, which I think, I don't have a dictionary. If you can look up tzavua, I think it's a hyena. Might be another name for it. We have them in Yar Yerushalayim. Our house borders on Yar Yerushalayim. Kanti klirus. Now these words are meaningless. Others say it was kandi chloros. So those words are meaningless. They are an incantation, what we call in Hebrew a lachash. We don't know how they operate. But then he says, or he writes on the top, Hashem tzvakos amen amen sel. Okay, so this is what he wrote on a parchment, and it's apparently a prayer to God to spare him. And he should take off his garments, and he should bury his garments bekivre in a specific cemetery, ad tresar yarche shata, for 12 months. After the 12 months, I don't know if he survived 12 months, it sounds like he's doing okay. But anyway, nafkinu v'niklinu v'tanura. He takes it out of the cemetery and he burns it in an oven. V'nivderinu l'kim kitmei aparshas drachim. He should take the ashes and spread them around at a fork in the road. The hanach tresar yarche shata. And during the entire period of 12 months, while his garments are buried in the cemetery, Ishasi Maya, whenever he drinks water during this 12-month period, Lo Lishti Ela Begufsa Didachasha. He should only drink in a Kanashal Nechoches. In Yishtes Hamayim Me'akos, Lelo Kana, I guess it's like a straw, a cup of straw. How does he translate the word gufta? Straw. And the chosh is cup. I don't know where you get a cup of straw. I guess you have to go to a carpenter or somebody, he'll burn out a cup of straw for you. We don't want him to be looking at the water that he's drinking, because if he does so, he may see his own reflection. This shidavil is taking. And what happens is that not only will he see his own reflection, that's one problem, but he'll see the reflection of a shida, of a shade. It sounds like the shade is in his body because he was bitten by the rabid dog. So whatever toxic shade was in the rabid dog that made the animal so crazy, now it penetrated into him. And now he may see the shade in the reflection in the water, and that's going to come to a danger. He ha the Abba Bar Marta. This happened to Abba Bar Marta. He has another name, who Abba Bar Meniyume, and he was bitten by a rabid dog. The Avdole Ime Gufsa de Dava. His mother actually went even further. Instead of creating a straw that was made out of copper, she made actually a straw that was made out of gold. He was drinking his water out of the straw, and eventually he was restored to full health. The Odom of Masya, the son of Peresh, that if a person has trouble with his throat, then he's allowed to put a drug into his mouth even on Shabbos. And now the Gemara tells us a story. What this will complete it. Rabbi Yochanan Chashbitz Fidna, some sort of gum disease. And it begins with the mouth and then it spreads down to the intestines. It's very dangerous. I think I mentioned to you that Rav Shlomo Palachik, Zichrono Livracha, one of the greatest minds in Talmud that we ever had, and he died, my father told me he died from a gum disease. They didn't give him penicillin. Azal Gaboda Himatronisa. After Rabbi Yochanan took ill, he went to see a non-Jewish matronusa. Is usually one of the rulers of the local city. Rabbi Yochanan was in Tveria. And of the Le Milsa, she created a potion that was therapeutic, Hamsha Umayle Shapsa, on Thursday and Friday. Amar Allah, Rabbi Yochanan said, okay, you gave me this concoction on Thursday and Friday. This Shabbos man, what happens on Shabbos? I'm not going to be able to get to you. On Shabbos, I'm very preoccupied. I'm teaching 3 shiurim here. I won't be able to make it on Shabbos. Orale, so this matronusa, this goyeta, says to him, Lo tzrichas. You don't need any more refuah on Shabbos. You already reached the stage of recovery. So Rabbi Yochanan asked her, Imitz tarechna mai. What should I do in event that your evaluation is not correct and I see that I still am very sick? I ask you to take an oath that you won't reveal this therapy to others, Ishtaba, Rabbi Yochanan took an oath. And he said, he declared, Allah Yisrael lo magalina. I will not reveal this secret to the God of Israel. After he took the oath, she gave him all the necessary refuah. Nafak udrasha bepirka. And Rabbi Yochanan actually integrated this refuah into his lecture, public lecture. So Gemara says, "Vashtabale." But after all, Rabbi Yochanan took an oath that he would not reveal this refuah. How could he not violate his oath? And Gemara answers that Rabbi Yochanan took an oath, I will not reveal it to the God of Israel. But I will reveal it to the people of Israel, not to the God of Israel. So the Gemara immediately asks, Hashem, even though technically he didn't violate his shvuah, he should not have revealed this refuah, because this would create a desecration of God's name. That nachris, that matronisa, he thought that he violated his shvuah. Our answers the Megali Lo Meikara. Rabbi Yochanan told her already from the get-go, immediately after she revealed the secrets of this refuah, that his shvuah was not binding, because all he said was, Elokei Yisrael lo agal. Now, what we don't know is, and that'll be for tomorrow, is what was the refuah that she revealed to him and he transmitted to his talmidim. Okay, then, so this is where we'll stop for today. And we are on the middle part of Daf Kedah. Have a great day. Thank you.